Yeah. Alright, so now.
My average is like a what?
Hopefully it's better. Hopefully it's better now. Alright, so types of quadrilaterals on this page. What we're going to do, these are the 4 types that we're going to be talking about, along with trapezoids, which I don't know why trapezoids aren't on here, but we'll come back to that.
How'd you put this in there?
You can still fit it in there. I did it on my small one. Now, what we're going to do on this page is after we take notes on each of these types, we're going to come back and write in our own words the properties so that we have it in one spot. And we can look at it easily when we do our work. Does everybody understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. Turn the page. Now, there are different types of quadrilaterals. How many sides does a quadrilateral have? 4. So these are 4-sided figures. And we need to add another type because trapezoids are also not on here, and I don't know why. So we're going to come right here, and we're going to write trapezoids. And we're going to write him funky because he is funky. Trapezoids. We're not going to the trap. It's not a trap. It's just a trapezoid. Y'all live in Alabaster.
We ain't got no trap house together.
Okay. So now, types of quadrilaterals. We have parallelograms, which we learned about last week, correct? And there are 3 types of parallelograms. There are a rhombi. Rhombus is singular. Rhombi is plural. Rectangles and squares. Now, do you see that square is under both of these? That means a square is a rhombus and a rectangle, but a rectangle is not always a square.
Because that rectangle way longer than a square. That's facts, though.
Yes, that's one way to put it. All right, now let's look at our notes for today.
Yay!
I even left you a little section right here for us to write our learning target.
Oh my God!
Look, and we go.
She just thought about everything.
That's why I didn't have calculator.
I'm getting emotional.
Our learning target. The things that y'all are amazed by just brightens my day. Yes. All right, so it says, I can recognize and apply properties of rectangles. And this is page 40A. And I did not write that at the top, but I will now. I do, right there.
I've been spelling recognize the wrong the whole time.
Well, recognize is not up there. Rectangle is up there.
That says recognize.
Oh, right. You've been spelling that wrong? How you been spelling it? You know what? It's fine. You now know how to spell it. Let's do some math.
Yeah, I thought it was an assist.
Is it 40?
Assist. You know, like an assist.
Is it 48?
Why did you just say the same thing 3 times? Stop. Be Elsa. Math. Now, the first thing is that all 4 angles are right angles. What does it look like if all 4 angles are right angles? What notation do we use for right angle?
The little box.
The little box. Good. Take a point. So it looks like this? Yes. I don't care. This is the face that doesn't care. Come on, we got to do math. All right, the second thing, it says the opposite sides are parallel and congruent. So what notation do we use for parallel?
The
Little arrows. So I would put 1 here. And then how many would I put on the top?
2.
Because it's not parallel to the left side, correct?
Correct.
It's parallel to the bottom. Now, what do we use because they're parallel and congruent? What do we use for congruent? Tickies. Good. How many tickies do I put on the left and right? 1. And how many do I put on the top and bottom? Look at us go.
Look at us.
I'm gonna learn. I got it.
Now, the third thing is that opposite angles are congruent. How do we know that opposite angles are congruent?
Rainbow. We learned it.
Or they're both what? They're both 90. So do we have to put the rainbows this time?
No.
They're both 90. We know they're congruent. And then it says consecutive angles are supplementary. What does it mean for consecutive angles?
Then they equal.
No, guys. What does consecutive mean?
They're quite after each other. Close to each other.
They're close to each other. They're right after each other. So like A and what?
D.
A and B and A and? A and D.
Yes.
Why would A and C not be consecutive?
Because they're not opposite angles.
They're not right next to each other and they're opposite angles. Both of you take a point. Good.
Well, we should probably that. We should get a number.
Alright, so A and D are consecutive and they add up to be 180. What's 90 plus 90?
180.
Boom, we did it. What's consecutive with B? What two angles? What's consecutive with B? We have A and, C and A. Good. Alright, the diagonals bisect each other. What does that mean?
They connected us. No, it answers.
They bisect each other, so what does that mean?
They cut in half.
They cut each other in half. Alright, so can we draw diagonals?
Yeah.
Let's do this. Get a straight edge, get something. Let's draw diagonals. Now, what are we going to connect A with for it to be a diagonal?
E.
Good. Hunter, are you paying attention over there? Are you sure? Are you just telling me that to make me happy? No, I don't want you to pay attention.
Wow. That's deep.
Okay. We're just being Elsa and Lynn again.
If people like heard our conversation like in this class, like
They're probably like, why is she so mean to them?
why did she threaten
her
her
student?
Do we not have a fourth grade
I've been
education?
threatened in my life.
That would probably be what they asked.
I threatened. She threatened my life.
Now,
I'm talking about her lines on the sheet. I
alright.
can't do that.
Not exactly like. Do we have common sense? Like that's it.
Okay, now the diagonals bisect each other. That means that AE is congruent to CE, right? So put a ticky on AE and CE. Now, let's put 3 because they're not congruent to AD. So let's put 3 tickies. Now, don't put tickies on anything else yet. Tell me what else this says.
Diagonals are congruent.
So that means that AC is congruent to BD. Now, would BE be congruent to AE? Why?
Because they friends.
Because it's cut in half. Good. Take a point. Now, if this was 6, that means that BD has to be 6, right? So what would DE be?
3.
And what would BE be?
6.
And what would AE be?
3.
And what would CE be?
3.
All right. Put 3 tickies. I don't know why you're so emotional. Are we ready to look at our examples?
Yes.
All right. Let's look at example 1.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit rough.
Oh, she's standing by you.
We're going to finish, and you're going to worry about math and your charger later. All right, quadrilateral ruts. Well, it says above, it should be below. Is a rectangle. If US is 6x plus 3 and RT is 7x plus 2, find x. Now, what do we know about US and RT?
They bisect.
Why are they congruent? They bisect and they're congruent. Why? Because it says diagonals are congruent right there.
Yeah.
So our learning target for today says I can recognize, which means you can see it, and apply it, which means we're going to do it. So if they're congruent, what are we going to do with these two things? Set them equal. So you're going to do 6x plus 3 equals 7x minus 2. And also Star, you and Brindley get a point.
Oh, wait. I said bisect too. We're in the same. Oh, no math. Well, give us 68 points.
Now what would I do to solve this? I would add 2, okay. And then could I also subtract 6? I'm going to do both of the things because I'm a ninja. So I'm going to add 2.
Oh, that's cool. Never mind.
Alright, what's 3 plus 2?
5.
And 7 minus 6?
X.
What does x equal?
5.
Now, did it ask us to find the length of the diagonals or just find x?
Find X. Find X.
And we're done.
Yeah, so.
That was 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah, that cardigan's really cute.
Target. Number 2, quadrilateral rut below is a rectangle. If STR, okay, so let's highlight. It says STR, which is this angle, right? Tells us that it's 8x plus 3. And UTR, I'm going to do that one in a different color, is 16x minus 9. What information can we use and apply from our properties up here about, it doesn't say anything about angles being congruent, so read your properties.
Okay.
No, nobody's saying anything. I want you to read your properties about angles. Now, it tells us that consecutive angles are supplementary. Are these 2 consecutive angles or are they adjacent?
Consecutive.
Supplement.
Alright, y'all. Consecutive angles are A and D and B and A. Remember when we just did this a minute ago?
They're adjacent.
Okay, they're adjacent. So we don't know anything about adjacent angles. But what do we know that this entire angle right here is?
A right angle.
A right angle, so it's 90. So what could we do with the pink part and the purple part?
You can add them together and equal 9.
Good, both of you get a point.
The key is 70.
Add it together. And set it equal to 90. Now, the reason that we add it together and set it equal to 90 is the entire angle is 90 degrees. We don't know anything that the diagonals bisect each other. We don't know that. But we know that this entire angle is 90. Solve it without me. And then Hunter's going to tell us what he gets for the answer.
Oh.
Wait, what?
Hey, boo-boo, we working. It's okay. Tomorrow you're going to sit at a table.
Oh,
No. You're not doing your work. You're just staring out the window playing with your hair. Yes.
Typical black.
Wow.
Let the record show that that was a black woman that said that.
My name is Nakia, hey.
Pay attention to your signs.
You get 4?
She got a decimal.
I got 4.
You could go ask Hunter if he got 4.
Hunter.
Honey, you get a decimal, bro?
Yeah, I got that small.
I got 4. Did y'all get 4?
Okay, I don't know.
Stop hollering at him and let him.
Caucasian people, did y'all get 4?
Yes.
She is. I mean, what'd you get, Hunter? Yay! X equals 4. Now, for those of us that, well, baby, I'm going to show you, so breathe. What is 8x plus 16x? And what is 3 minus 9? Alright, then what do we do from here? And then you divide, and x equals?
I thought it was more 6.
Okay, I could have sworn I did that.
Okay, now taters, does it ask us for x or does it ask us for STR? Okay, so are we going to plug 4 back into 8x plus 3 or into 16x minus 9?
8x plus 3.
Alright, do it.
35. Y'all get 30?
And what do we get?
35.
35. Should we circle our answer?
Yes.
All right. All right, do 3 and 4 without me.
He made you.
Actually, my mom made me.
Stop. Forever stop. 3 and 4.
Okay. Did you ever do a problem like this?
This one will be a decimal. Read your properties. Read your properties. Hello. Are you done with both 3 and 4, Tyler?
Hold on. I think the group.
Read your properties. No. Baby, read your properties.
I read them 3 times. Oh.
No.
I'm reading this
Now, it tells us that GH is 6, and then it tells us that this entire diagonal is 15. What do we know about diagonals of a rectangle? So if this one is 15, what's this one? Now, it asks us, for this part, what do we know, what else do we know about diagonals of a parallelogram? They bisect. So what are we going to do with 15?
Divide by 2.
And you get?
7.5.
So did we even need this 6 over here?
No.
It was a distractor, which is what they do on the ACT.
And this is
That's
why
so
they were
cool.
made.
All right, are we ready for number 4?
I wonder if they
All right, so 4 tells us that BEA is 62, right?
Yes.
What do we know about BE and AE?
They're
Mm-hmm.
They're,
So if our sides are congruent right here, what does that mean about these bottom angles? They're also congruent because it's an isosceles triangle. Take a point. So what could we do with this information? If we don't know what these are, what do we call it? X and X. Now, what's the sum of a triangle? So X plus 62 equals? Solve it without me. Do you want me to answer it?
Yeah. You really?
Bring it to me.
It says scam. That's my baby.
Do not answer that then.
They say call me to my son.
Yeah, they always call me.
Okay, do your math.
Did anybody get 49? You did.
They calling me. They say,
You didn't get 49?
is it gonna be a decimal?
This one will not be a decimal. You have all even numbers.
Are we done?
hey.
Nope.
You know we ain't never done. Look, we have 8, 9, 10, 3, 4, 5 minutes left. You think we can eat?
Okay.
Are we doing that?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
And you getting homework.
She don't look at the clock because she always keep it. I thought this was a thing.
What, baby? Oh. What'd y'all get for X? 59. Fantastic. Now, tonight for your homework, you have a maze that you're going to do. And not only are you going to have to do the maze, but you're going to have to show your work on the separate piece of paper instead of just highlighting stuff in the maze. And everybody gets a different one.
Oh my god.
So you can't copy.
That's not fair.
Hold up, wait.